Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everybody. How are you? I want to welcome you all here to this edition of Kundalini Conversations with Chrism. And here he is, Chrism. Hi, Chrism.
Hello, Amelia. How are you?
I'm fine, Chrism. Thank you very much. Recovering and on a bit of a high after our wonderful seminar. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good seminar, and it's the people that make it really good. So I want to thank everybody that came to the seminar and participated and danced and sang and chanted and did all the different things. It was a very different seminar in a sense that we did a lot of work outside of the normal hours, which I really liked. I thought that worked really well. Do you have a chat room up?
Yes, I do. First of all, let me know, are you seeing the studio or not today?
I can see the studio. I can see that Joey just called it, but I can't see the chat room. So.
Okay, well, maybe you need to open that second window.
Well, I'm trying to, in new window. Okay, let's try that. Can you still hear me?
Yep, you're still on.
All right, it seems to be connecting me up here. Slowly but surely.
You might need, actually, Chrism, to chat as co-host. Press that.
Well, actually, I can see Tangeria, and I can see Tangeria, Ovaltine, Emma's there, Atlantis Seeker. Hello, everybody. Ovaltine 8. Oh, that's hilarious. So, yeah. So, welcome, everybody, and thank you, Amelia, for opening the show because, this whole week I've been a day off. I totally thought today was Tuesday. But no, Amelia, in her wise sagacity, decided to give me a call. Where the heck are you? So thank you, Amelia.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Spent most of the day at the insurance office and trying to do all that stuff. So, all right. So here we go. Okay, possession. Most of the time, we're not able to discern when we are being guided or controlled by a discarnate entity. And by discarnate entity, I'm talking about relative or ancestors or an entity, like a lot of people do the Reiki work, and so they're opening themselves to a big opportunity to be controlled by a discarnate consciousness or consciousness. Discarnate means, it's Latin for without flesh. Carnate is flesh in Latin, and dis means without. So discarnate means a consciousness without flesh or without a body. And they're not all malevolent. They're not all malevolent. The malevolent ones, the worst ones, are the ones that start out being nice and then just kind of guide you into this terrible, terrible, terrible expression. Much like the New York terrorist that has been recently been apprehended or shot, I guess, or apprehended. I forget which. These people, come under the control or the domination of a group of entities, and they're usually couched in religion or some sort of a belief system that supports that kind of possession. And these people do this. Kim Jong-un is another one. He's under the control of a kind of a very dark power, and so is other people in the United States government too. I'm not trying to make us into angels, let me tell you. But typically people in power have a level of possession occur to them. And it's been this way since time immemorial. I mean, this has been a very, very constant level of theme within the evolution of humanity. And so possession is a very common occurrence for us. And within if you look at the top of the head and you look on either side of the fontanelle, there are channels where an entity can tie in. And once they tie into these channels, well then, they can insert a thought, or they can insert a command or an instruction. But it's up to your higher self, and it's up to you to discern whether or not this is a good thing. So for instance, mow people down with the rented truck would not be a good thing. And this is where the possession either goes so deep that it takes over the internal levels of consciousness for the individual, or that individual just begins to buy into the negativity and feel that the negativity is the right thing to do, and therefore, let's make them suffer. This is what, and then there are definite tools of possession that are still in vogue on this planet right now, and alcohol. Bringing alcohol into a civilization or a society like the Native American society in the United States. The rate of alcoholism is 3 times the rate of alcoholism for those people who are not of that culture, and it's because they don't have the antibodies or the ability to withstand the onslaught of the alcohol, and the alcohol definitely opens up doorways for specific levels of possession. You go to a place like Germany or France or Ireland or these other countries that have had exposure to strong levels of alcohol for many, many years, they are allowed to really, reach into that and to understand what is going on with that. I mean, not everybody in these countries understand, but they have a resistance to it that allows them to be able to handle it better. Whereas I've seen Native Americans, get drunk on alcohol and decide to just jump off of bridges. You don't see that happening a lot, in Germany or England or Ireland or France or, Italy or any of these other European countries that have had access to alcohol much longer. Not all cultures decided to make alcohol. A lot of cultures didn't decide to make that. And when it was introduced by Europeans and other people that had a resistance to it, it became a level of a control mechanism by the party that was taking them over. But it also becomes a control mechanism with entities, with possession. The more alcohol that is consumed, the more open the mind and the body is to levels of possession. And so you'll see a lot of entities driving and encouraging people to partake of alcohol in large quantities so that a level of possession can be established. And by that level, it's like the more alcohol you drink or the more marijuana that you do, these types of drugs open people up to possession. And so, of course, the entities are going, with the legalization of marijuana in the United States, that's a great victory for them. And also, like say, lowering the age for people to be able to consume alcohol. My understanding is it's 18 in Ireland. Amelia, are you busy doing something else? Am I not being heard? Let's see here.
No, I am. I'm not. I'm on red doing? So that I'm making no. I'm trying to gather questions, like the good co-host that I am. But yes, 18. My son has just turned 18. Actually, while I was in Minnesota.
And then what's the first thing he went out and did?
Not the first thing, maybe the third. Yeah, he had some cider.
Yeah, it's almost like a rite of adulthood, right? Going out to the
Yeah,
pub and
it's like
being
an
served.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's in the
yeah.
culture, unfortunately, and it's
What a
like
poor
whoever
choice.
turned 18, Chrism, joined that group, that little clique of, men that are, it's like so sad. But anyway, it's what's done.
And women too,
Um,
and women too.
oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. Sure.
so it's really something that we need to look at as a culture, as a society. But we're not going to be able to change society like this. What we need to do as Kundalini people is we need to begin to look at that and make other choices. Make other choices. Stop drinking the alcohol. Stop smoking the weed if you can. Now, some people are going to say, well, Master Chris, Mr. Know-It-All, marijuana is not addictive. Well, it is addictive. It's mentally addictive. It's emotionally addictive. It's not physically addictive in the sense that alcohol is, or heroin, or things of that nature, but it is addictive in the psychological senses. And so never believe that just because, never buy into that idea that marijuana is not addictive. It is addictive. Once people get hooked into marijuana, then they want to keep doing it. And, even though, yes, of course, it's a form of escapism, just like alcohol, just like some of the other recreational. It's hard life to be a human having a flesh body and having, only, 5 senses for the most part. It's a very difficult time to live a life within these levels of refinement, which is why, in many ways, we are protected from the outside the veil environment. And yet there are some aspects of the veil that are allowed to intersect with us in order to assist us in our evolution, in order to give us the opportunity to make better choices. And this is what I'm talking about today, is making better choices. Possession can be benign, as I mentioned before. You can have you can have your team up there, and they're going, oh, no. Chrism, don't drink the alcohol. Or, oh, no, Chrism, don't do the marijuana. Or, oh, no, Chrism, don't get into pornography, or don't get into criminal activities, or don't get into any of the things that would take a person off of their path. And that's a positive team. That's a positive team environment, and they're there to help. And for the most part, a person will listen to that. But what I want to suggest is that it's time for you to start taking responsibility for your choices. Don't lean so heavily on your team. Don't lean so heavily on the discarnate influence. Now, because it is your team, and they know not to possess you, but they also know that it's necessary for you to have communication sometimes. Like, don't step in that grass right there because there's a rattlesnake waiting for you, that type of thing. I feel is very, very positive, very positive. Another thing would be don't go through that door because there's a bunch of criminals waiting for you there. Or, many of the different life-saving type of things that your team will give into your intuition so that you can continue to live your life and evolve your life into the Kundalini saint that you're becoming. So, I wanted to make this separation between the bad entities, shall we say, and the good entities. The good entities are there for you, but they're not possessing your body, you see. They're hanging around. They're inside your aura. They're inside your energetic field, but they're not possessing you. They're not coming into Master Chrism and saying, oh, Chrism, you must not. What's a bad thing? I'm trying to think of a bad thing to do. Oh, my God, this is so embarrassing. Well, you must not take a drag off of that cigarette. You know that cigarettes are bad for you. And so they're not in my body jerking my hand away. You see, there's the difference. They can say something, and not that actually I don't have these kind of things. I have the Kundalini, and that's what I take my instruction from. I don't have a team like I'm suggesting, and I know other people have these teams. They got a diverse level. They've got maybe their animal totem. They've got maybe the entities or the guidance that they were born with that's still with them. They've got something, maybe another discarnate that's guiding them towards a positive interaction with Kundalini. They have these things. I lost I remember when mine went away. They were discouraged because they had fun helping me from 0 to like 24 or something like that. But they left, and it was replaced with a positive guidance of the Shakti Kundalini. And I know that many of you might have this as well. I know that Emma has her team, and Michelle's definitely got a team, and Tanjira has her team. These are very positive interactions with entities that are not possessing you or corrupting you, but rather helping you, guiding you towards a Kundalini environment. And what comes to mind is Michelle Ranger's guidance towards specific animals like the bees and the snakes and these types of things. And this is very common, and this is a common form of Kundalini guidance. The Shakti coming in, and you need to really differentiate Shakti consciousness from an entity or a guidance that has been with you, since you came into this world. Shakti is very different. She's got a very strong and very straightforward agenda, whereas maybe some of these other guidances, are within the maturation level that a person is within their soul evolution. They're still being guided to do good things. They're still being, good things, and this is positive. This is a good thing. But once the Kundalini comes, they will typically step back. Not always. Like, say, some of the ET type of guidances, they still want to keep their finger in the pie. And, this is something that you need to really begin to release yourself from their finger in the pie. And a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, well, you're one of us. You're a star seed or some sort of a thing, and you belong to this race or you belong to that race, and we're representatives of this or that race." And they'll try to keep their finger in the pot. And what you really want to do is establish a level of freedom from these types of entities. And it's not that they're bad; they are not bad. But they are trying to keep their hand into a divine circuit doesn't really belong to them. Even though they may have guided you towards the Kundalini and all of this stuff, Kundalini is basically the divine between you and the divine and nothing else. Just you and just the divine. So it's very important for people to understand that. And I see on the chat that Ovaltine is saying, "This is my first time listening live. Normally I have work meetings at this time." Well, welcome, Ovaltine 8. It's good to see you here. And Michelle's apologizing for being late. And don't worry, Michelle, we'll work out a punishment for later. LOL. And Andrew's here. Hello, Andrew. I think Andrew's here. I met Andrew the first time. This would be this would be Amelia talking to Andrew. Where is Andrew? Which one is Andrew? Is he Ovaltine 8? Is that what's going on here, Amelia? What are you doing? You're on the toilet. I know you're on the toilet. Okay, so we have to. No, he got bumped off. Thank you for doing all your hard work too, Amelia. So this is very important for you to be able to discern the Kundalini Shakti guidance from your team's guidance. And you must, if you're brave enough, you must ask your team to take a step back and let Shakti do her work in guiding you towards the most appropriate platform of Kundalini evolution that she feels is right for you. Most of your team will automatically take a step back. The negative entities, however, will not. And if they are not, then you must begin to to discern what they're saying and not trust what they're saying, even though it may be the right thing at the time, but somewhere along the line they're going to insert something that's going to try to throw you off, even if it's dressed up in nice clothing, you know, a nice idea, a nice thought. Oh, well, you should kill that man because he's going to kill 1 million people later on in his life. That type of thing, right? They kind of a dire choice to make, and it typically isn't true. These are the things that I want you to really begin to discern. So as you come into the Kundalini, you need to be able to follow the safety protocols. And the safety protocols are, you know, kindness in all its forms, even the tough forms, benevolence, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, truth, trust in the Kundalini, trust in your teacher, trust in these. And trust is typically hard to give. Let me tell you something about trust with the Kundalini teacher a little bit, and I'm shifting it out of the possession aspect, but not really, because this is part of it. When you trust your Kundalini, and let's just say you trust, you're finding a lot of levels of trust to have for your Kundalini teacher, and it's really working out well, and then he's going to do something that is going to totally shatter your trust. Now, why would that occur, Amelia? Santara, excuse me. Why would your Kundalini teacher purposefully shatter your trust?
Well, I'm on. In order to test it, Chrism, in order to establish it.
How would shattering your trust test you?
Okay, so when you trust, where you're using the example of your teacher, when you trust your teacher, and there's no reason that comes up to not trust your teacher, well, then it's easy, isn't it? It's when the ego responds or something comes up and, you know, or he does something that shatters your trust, that goes against expectations or conditioning or whatever. Well, then there's the point of choice. There's the point of, you know, going deeper into that trust or running as fast as you possibly can away, you know. Yeah, so you're given that in order by the Kundalini. It's an order to offer you or to offer me the opportunity to go deeper into that trust.
Right. And so when the trust is shattered, like he'll give you an instruction that just is the worst instruction for you. It is the absolute epitome of the worst instruction for you. So let's say for Santara, that would be walking on the beach. So walking on the beach. No, I got to make it more realistic here. Well, eating meat. That was something that was a very important part of your life.
That was.
Right? And the teacher knows that Santara doesn't like to eat meat, and it's not part of her culture anymore, and it is against her emotions. It's against her idea of what is, you know, appropriate in her mind. It's against a lot of things for Santara, and so the teacher says, "Okay, now it's time to eat meat." And I want it to be salted prime rib. And I want you to have a big slice of it. And I want you to chew each bite. And I want you to feel the blood squirting onto your tongue. And I want you to feel the life of that animal, the life of that animal coming into you and merging with you, blah, blah, blah. You know, and for a vegetarian, that's a very, very ugly scenario. Especially the blood squirting onto your tongue.
And it will come with such descriptions as you're given the command.
and this is so terrible. This is so terrible for the individual that they're just going to say, "Screw this teacher. Yeah. Screw this teacher. I don't want anything to do with this guy." This guy, first of all, he knows that I'm a vegetarian, and a lot of Indian people can relate to this. He knows that I'm a vegetarian, and he knows that I would never in my life ever eat a cow. These cows are really benevolent creatures. They're very nice. They're very friendly. That you can bring them into your house and they won't poop in the house. I mean, they're very, very, very beautiful, very wonderful creatures. And this guy, this so-called Kundalini teacher, is telling me that I have to eat a cow with salt, no less, which leads to higher blood pressure. So why would you trust this teacher? Why would you trust this teacher? Anybody? I'm looking at Seattle Ann. We've got a Seattle Ann on there. How cool is that? I don't see her anywhere, though. She must have got bumped. Why would you trust that teacher?
That's overtime age.
Oh, I see. Okay. Ovaltine. Yeah. Obviously, you didn't have Ovaltine in Ireland. So why would you trust that teacher? Let's take it even further. What if this teacher becomes abusive to you? What if this teacher, is abusive in every possible abusive way? And so now you've got two things you've got to ask yourself. Why is the Kundalini allowing this? And why did the Kundalini send me this teacher? What if this teacher, has a history of abuse with students and things of that nature? Why would you be given to a teacher that has, number one, such a history, and number two, is beginning to inflict that history on you? Why? How is this beneficial? Well, it really goes back to what Santara said earlier when I asked her the question. And when I say Santara and Amelia, they're the same person, so just to clear that up. So Santara said it's for you to go deeper into your trust. Well, this is true. This is absolutely true. But what it also is, it's about shattering the expectations that the ego within the student has about the teacher. So, and I have done this. I've done this with students. I have been very, very, very harsh and very, very unapologetically, what a person would consider to be abusive. Definitely outside the acceptable range of United States society or Western Europe society. And it's all there for a reason. It is all there for a purpose. But when you're on the receiving end of this abuse, it becomes very, very difficult. And you have to question yourself, why? Why is the Kundalini giving me to this harsh teacher? Well, it's much more easy to be under the possession of entities, and the entities that are possessing a person at that time may swoop in and go, hey, here you gave us up, and look at this asshole is doing. Why on earth are you going to put up with this flesh teacher creep when all we were trying to do is get you to do whatever we want you to do? And typically that was nice, and typically it was easy for you. But now you've got this flesh teacher, this asshole, and he's treating you this way, and he's being hurtful to you mentally. He's abusing you emotionally. He might even be abusing you physically. And what? Why are you there with this man? How is this possibly going to be a good thing for you? Oh my gosh, you poor deluded little flesh and encased human being. Here we were ready to help, but now you've given yourself to this asshole, and look at how he's treating. Look at what he has already done to you. So they come in, and they have their 2 cents with you, and you're thinking about this. You're going, oh my God, they're right. They're right. This guy he's mentally abusive. He's emotionally abusive. He's physically abusive. He's doing all these different things. And why am I going to sit here and take it? And it goes back to what Santara said again. You must dig deeper. Your trust cannot be determined by your desire for simplicity or your desire for ease. Ease meaning easy. It can't be easy because getting through the ego is not easy. The reason why your Kundalini teacher, at least me, as we're talking about me, that has to be shattered and rebuilt. The understanding of the ego and the expression of that ego needs to be shattered and rebuilt upon a platform of being totally supportive of what Kundalini wants to do with the individual. And that is not going to be easy. And that is going to be typically hard. Not always, but typically hard. And that means your expectations of how you're treated is going to be changed. That means that you need to understand that if you feel like you're being abused, then there is a reason for that abuse. And in other words, if you feel you're being abused, well, why do you feel you're being abused? Why do you feel that the difficult choices that you're being given to live your new life from is abuse? Simply because it's difficult, or simply because it's not emotionally satisfying, or it's not mentally satisfying, or it hurts your physical body to have your teacher go out and say, okay, now I want you to hoe all these weeds, or to do all these exercises, or to whatever he asks you to do. See, this is the big challenge. When it stops being happy, happy, joy, joy, why do you continue with the teacher? Can you not see that it is a level of deep testing that is going on? Now, Amelia can see this because she's struggled with this. Santara, I mean. But other students aren't. It's not so easy to see. And if the teacher has gone way outside of the box and created karma and all of these things with an individual, with a student, that involves a level of what, Santara?
Refinement. I was distracted.
No. No.
Sorry,
no.
I really didn't hear you. Sorry. Ask me again. Sorry, Chrism. I was over on another page.
What it involves is, stop guessing, please.
Okay.
What it involves, if that teacher's gone way outside the box, created karma, it involves a level of strong forgiveness. Mm-hmm. You will be tested in all aspects of the safety protocols. You'll be tested with tolerance. How much can you take? How much difficulty can you take? And we all talked about this at the seminar with Amelia, being commanded by me to jump into a ice-cold creek and to stay in there for 21 minutes. Think about that, folks. That could be unhealthy. If she didn't have the Kundalini, and if the teacher didn't know that she had the Kundalini, and then say, hey, jump into this ice-cold creek, and oh, by the way, have a happy time being hypothermic, that could be a dangerous thing to do. But it's also a very, very trusting thing to do. And as as you go way outside of the box with an individual, the teacher's Kundalini is doing this. And the teacher's Kundalini is saying, you've got to trust. You've got to deepen your trust. And you've got to deepen your commitment to forgiveness no matter what occurs. And you've got to deepen your tolerance levels no matter what occurs. No matter what level of testing that you're being put through, you have got to deepen your trust, deepen your commitment. Kundalini in you. You always have to go back, and the Kundalini has given me this teacher, and this teacher is giving me these terrible, harsh things to do, and they don't feel good. They don't feel healthy. Why am I being compelled to do them? Why am I being compelled to do them? Oh, my God. Have I made such a terrible mistake? Have I lived such a horrible life that this teacher comes along, the Kundalini gives me this teacher, and he comes along and he starts asking me to do these things? How is this fair? It's not fair at all. It's not fair, ladies and gentlemen. Kundalini is not fair. It is hard. It is not fair. But she knows you better than you know yourself. She knows your karma better than you could even imagine your karma to be. And she knows what you need. She knows where all your buttons are. She knows where your buttons are. She knows about your buttons that you don't even know of. And so she'll give you things to do that really go way outside of the box of acceptability for you to do. And if you're my student, it's an individual thing. My Kundalini reads you. It reads your karma. It reads your where the worst things are for you to do. And then it has you do those things. It's like stepping into a star chamber where you're pressed on all sides at the same time. And it is to deepen your trust. It is to deepen your love. It is to deepen your commitment to this work. And for those of you that have this already within you, and let's see who we're talking about. Emma, we're talking about Andrew, we're talking about Tanjira, we're talking Michelle, we're talking Vicky, Tim. All of these people have the Kundalini going, and they do not have a choice after they walk over a certain bridge. And that certain bridge is the giving of themselves one-on-one with a teacher. It gets really hard, folks. And now I've met Michelle, and I've met Andrew, and I've met Tanjira, and I've met a few other folks in these different seminars that we've done. And it's, it can get really, really outrageously difficult because she'll read you. She will read where your most difficult areas are. So let's say you're deathly afraid of frogs. She will read that, let's see, and I'll just use, I'll make up somebody. So Jenny Jones is definitely afraid of frogs, and she has the Kundalini going, and she's not quite sure about the Kundalini. She's got some questions about it, but she's got the Kundalini going, and she knows that her Kundalini is given her to this teacher. And by mean given her, the Kundalini has said, "This is your you must pay attention to this man." His Kundalini, he's got a Kundalini that you can learn from, that can help refine you, and it's all good, but it's not all comfortable. But you've got to listen to your Kundalini, and your Kundalini says, "Okay, you need to do what this man tells you to do." And and it goes deeper than that. I mean, when she gives you to a teacher, she gives you completely to that teacher. And that teacher is given such a huge leeway of what he can do with you. And you're not allowed to resist. You're not allowed to resist. You may resist anyway. and you to some degree, you'll pay a price for that resistance. Typically, it's confusion, fear, pain, feeling discombobulated or feeling disorganized to such a degree that you know that you must return to that teacher. You know you must do this. The Kundalini isn't stacking up teachers behind us like, oh gosh, Jenny Jones has a problem with this teacher. Well, okay, let's go through the Google there, and let's there's another one. She's not doing that. She's not doing that because she knows that you are best benefited by the teacher that she's giving you to. And I hear Centaura is sniffing her nose at that. So I was just like, well, okay.
I am not. I've got a runny nose from the flight.
It's okay. I mean, I understand. I'm kidding. I know. So this teacher is pushing you way outside of the box, way outside of what is appropriate, and is saying, okay, you must do this. And you're sitting there going, what? You got to be kidding me. I'm not going to do that. And he says, yeah, I want you to do this. Obey. And you're going to, first of all, he's using that word, obey. It's like, what? How did I all of a sudden, get put into this type of a scenario? And it's pressing all the buttons of your individuality. It's pressing all the buttons of your freedom. It's pressing all the buttons of how you see your identity. It's pressing all the buttons about how you feel that you fit into society, what is right, what is wrong. All these buttons are being pressed at the same time. And once again, you must go back to what Centaura said at the beginning. You must deepen your trust. You must deepen your commitment. He's going to be giving you all the things that you know intrinsically are wrong to do, because those things that you see are wrong are not ego supportive. You're going directly against your identity and your egocentrism to the point of endangering yourself, or seemingly endangering yourself. Can you do this? I'm going to ask people here on the group. Andrew, can you do this? And I want you to write your answer. Emma, can you do this? Please write your answer. Michelle, can you do this? Write your answer. Tanjira, can you do this? Okay, these are the people that I've met in person, or sort of. Well, I've either Skyped with you or things of that nature. And so everybody who thinks they can do this, Andrew writes, yes, he says, she always kicks my ass when I go against the teaching. Hard lessons, but he's grateful. And so he can do it. And Emma says, absolutely. Although, Emma, we've had some problems with this in the past, have we not? And how have you found resolution? What has occurred for you that has allowed you to resolve this within yourself? So, and it's not just Emma, It's just, Emma, you've got good company. Amelia, have you ever said, screw this guy? I ain't doing that.
Never.
Have you ever said?
Never.
Huh? Never?
Never.
Okay, we can live that fantasy.
I think I've spoken about that here. People know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
and so it really,
to say yes.
What? Say again. Say again.
It's one thing to say yes and to sincerely and absolutely mean it, and then for the instruction to come, or the what you might give me to do, and there seems to be like two particular categories of what you would give me to do, and maybe others have found the same. One would be something like, say, a test or a challenge, like we say the water for 21 minutes. That's difficult, but I can do it. And then there's the other kind of one that's far more abusive from my ego perspective, which would be, like, say, eating the meat at that particular time, when that's disgusting.
Oh, yeah.
There would be...
Because that's,
so
that's going inside you. That deals with your taste and your tongue and, the blood squirting out. I mean, because of course I'm going to have you eat it rare.
So that's the sort of, that then will bring up a different set of responses. So, it's not as easy as going yes, because it really depends. And I so agree with you that, at least the Kundalini knows about it, and so the target is always spot on.
It's
the
really
challenge,
difficult.
the
I mean,
instruction.
really,
Yeah.
really hard. I mean, I was given into a level of slavery by my Kundalini when I was homeless, and I was given employment for a kind of caretaking type of thing, where in fact it was more of a level of slavery, and that I had to give myself into this level of slavery that was totally legal, not so benign, very difficult actually, and very, very, how do I say it? It was inappropriate. It was difficult. It was hard. And yet I was forced to do it. And you could sit there and say, oh, well, you could have said no, but you can't say no to the Kundalini.
Yeah, I suppose one of the difficult things, if I may intrude, can I?
Yep.
Things with, like you're giving that example, and I am in no way diminishing or in no way want to diminish Chrism, but these were two people and that were doing this to you, but the Kundalini was making you or commanding you to stay, but to stay within it, but to get instruction from the absolute, like you didn't trust those people. Do you know what I mean? You hadn't given yourself in the same way that we give ourselves to a teacher. We're listening to, instruction.
You may not understand that I had to give myself to my Kundalini the same way that you're having to give yourself to a teacher.
I've been in situations like that, and it's much more difficult when the teacher is actually giving you directly to do these things. Well, that's just my opinion. I think it makes it harder.
You weren't wearing my shoes at the time, and so it's hard for you to make an accurate comparison. But I know the difficulty of, like, say, if I ask you to sit in that ice cold pool for 21 minutes, I know that it's hard. I know that you're being stress tested. It's a stress test, is what we're talking about here. And they vary in degrees. I mean, go ahead.
No, I agree, and that's not the worst, That's one of the easy ones.
That's the easiest. That's the easy one. Oh my God! We talked about on earlier programs. I mean, doing the chode in the forest, and oh my God,
Yeah, but
those are not the worst that I've had you do. Those are not the worst that I've had you do. The worst that I've had you do, I cannot even mention on this program, and I don't want to.
No. And another thing, when you have a teacher, that I'm just going to say now, because I'm thinking it, so let's see how it comes out, is that, like, before I met you, like, I had done a huge amount of ego work, and don't laugh out loud, but I had gone through a lot of stuff, really severe stuff, that I anyway. But you see, there is some element of spiritual ego attachments to that too, where I would have thought, maybe, I'm doing my best, I'm doing my very best kind of stuff, and so I'm bypassing that which I really need to do because I can't see it. I'm not able to see, that there is nothing within my life that can actually bring me into a refinement of what I need to do for my Kundalini.
This is a really good point. This is a good point that you're bringing up. It's because, and I brought it up earlier about, she knows about buttons that you don't even know you have. Right? This is what you're talking about, right, Amelia?
Yeah, I am.
and you've been pushed, and other people have been pushed into areas that are just so absolutely inappropriate to society, and yet the Kundalini is pushing you there. And why? Because the Kundalini knows your society. She knows the culture you're growing up in, and let's just talk about an Indian person who's like been a vegetarian their entire life, and all of a sudden this Northern California American teacher that she's giving you to is saying, "Oh, by the way, you got to eat your sacred cow now." Yeah, that's not
really
easy.
hard. No.
I mean, here you've been worshiping this cow. I mean, they drape themselves over the cow. They love the cow. And all of a sudden you're being told to eat what's it called again? What's that cut of meat I was having you eat fictitiously?
Oh, I don't know. You mean
prime rib?
Steak?
Prime rib.
Yeah, prime rib. Yeah.
A
That's
salted,
an American
crusted
term, but
prime
yeah.
rib. Which I never eat.
Yeah.
I never eat these myself either. But if the Kundalini told me to eat it, I would. And steak. I mean, didn't you have a steak over there in Minnesota or something? Some sort of a thing with steak in it?
Well, come from the Kundalini now directly. Whereas
exactly.
when you were giving me to do that, that was before her. Do you know, at that particular time, it was, yeah. Oh, my God.
It's very difficult. It's
one of the things ego does, though, Chrism, is that, like, when I begin to measure how's this going to come out? When I begin to measure the level of, let's say, abuse, you know, when I begin to decide if it's too much or it's too little, or, you know, begin to draw lines in the sand with regard to how my ego is responding, you know, what I'm really doing is, you know, I'm judging, and it's often projected as a judgment of the teacher and pushed away from myself.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Not with you in particular, but a lot of students will start judging me.
Yeah, but when it does happen with me, of course it has happened with me, but every time, like when you begin to realize these things within yourself, and I'm sure Emma and other people, you don't suddenly go from, you know, everybody's going to feel resist even worse. You know that when you thought it was bad the last time, that it was okay, that you trusted and it was okay. And therefore, as it gets worse, like for me, I don't ever let go of the fact that it was the correct thing back when I thought it was, you know, not the correct thing. So that's how then you get to the point, I think, where, you know, the resistance goes, and that you know that it is instant obedience, you know. Resistance is futile. Who says that?
Right. No,
yeah.
But the teacher will be given the instruction to corrupt a person's trust.
Yeah.
To totally corrupt the
Deliberately.
trust. Deliberately. And and it's horrible. It's horrible for the teacher, man. I'm looking at that and I'm going, oh, damn. Man, when you see the level of corruption, you have to just, as a teacher, you have no choice. You go right into it. And you go into it with both feet ready, both hands ready, I mean, to every degree that you are given to do. And it's just really deep and it's messy. And you get the person that you're doing this with is just going to reach out and start slapping the shit out of you for corrupting in this way. And you know, you lose people. You lose people because they just cannot handle what is being asked of them. And you know, it's just very, very, very strong, and it's all about the refinement of the ego. It's all about taking a person beyond their comfort zones, taking the person beyond their identity zones, taking the person beyond their pain threshold, taking the person beyond what their expected level of appropriateness is, way beyond that, and drowning them literally in their in Shakti, forcing them to breathe the liquid Shakti and forcing them to breathe in a way that they have never been asked to breathe before. B-R-E-A-T-H-E, not B-R-E-E-D, which that could sound like that. So forcing them to do things that they would never, ever, ever have found acceptable in their mundane life. And let's not forget, you're very strongly connected to the mundane life, even as you walk the talk of the Shakti. You're strongly connected. You're waiting at the cross street. You're waiting for that button to say, you can cross. You're driving your car. You're interrelating with people. And yet at the same time, the Kundalini is forcing you so far outside of what those people around you would consider appropriate and understandable and logical and all of these things. And you're living a double life. You begin to live a double life. You live your Kundalini life on the one hand, and you're living your mundane life for the eyes of your family, the eyes of your workmate, the eyes of your society. And yet the other life, the Kundalini life, is infiltrating itself into your mundane life. It's reaching into your mundane life and telling you to be more forgiving, to be more tolerant, to be more understanding, to be more service oriented, to be more of the safeties, really, the no. And at the same time, within the Kundalini life, she's having you. She's battering your ego. She's smashing it to pieces, literally, and telling you to give yourself to this teacher that is smashing everything to pieces. At the same time that she's smashing everything, give yourself to that teacher. He's smashing you to smithereens. Give yourself to that teacher. Give yourself to that teacher, because he's given himself to the Kundalini, and you must give yourself to the teacher that has given himself to the Kundalini, because he's that example. And yet at the same time, it doesn't seem like he's that example, because he's smashing everything that you have known to be familiar, that you have known to be good, that you have known to be acceptable. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. It's no easy thing. It's no easy thing that Santara has been placed into. It's no easy thing that any of my private students and the people that I've worked with one-on-one, you've got to, they get gold stars just for doing this work. It's not easy in any shape, way, or form. And it's impossible in some ways to do this work and to legitimize it from the conceptual expectations of what our society asks us to conceive. It's really hard. So I see some people here on the group. They say yes, and Michelle says it may take me a little time though, LOL, and it may take you some time. What if you're told, Michelle, that you have to go out naked into the outback and with only a knife and to survive? Go ahead now. Now you can survive. Check back with me in a week. You know what I'm saying? You get no time to train. You get no time. You're not talking with any of the Aborigines. You're just naked in the outback with a knife, and you're surviving for a week. Talk about a weight loss program. Stuff like that. Because that would not be healthy. But I can tell you one thing right now, Michelle, you would be very well taken care of if you just unleash the dependency upon the ego and just depend on Kundalini. She'd tell you exactly what to do. She might tell you to eat a bug or a worm or a grub, or she might tell you to do certain things that you would never do in your normal ego consciousness, but you would be very well taken care of. She would turn the heat up. She would clean you. She would take you to water that you could drink, maybe not hang out by. Certainly not in Australia. But you get what I'm saying, right, Michelle? Can I hear an amen? And Vicky's asking, what if your Kundalini is already and has been putting you through paces in big ways? Thank you, Michelle. She said amen. Well, Vicky, I mean, it's one thing to have your Kundalini do it inside your head, and she's putting you through the paces, and it's already big. I understand, but if she gives you to a teacher, and that teacher is saying, now you have to do this, and that, and these are beyond the buttons that you know you have. She already knows that you don't like onions, and if she says, okay, I want you to eat onions, that's one thing. But what if you don't know? What if she takes you way beyond the box of our society, is so far beyond that box that you couldn't see it with a telescope? She's taking you outside of the box and then putting you on a different world, a different planet, a different star system. And she's saying, okay, you have to do what this teacher tells you to do. And this teacher has been instructed to corrupt your trust in Kundalini and in the teacher. Your trust is being shredded, basically, Vicky. So Kundalini, I mean, your Kundalini, you're trusting your Kundalini already. Now let's just say that the Kundalini's decided to shred your trust in her. What do you do? Vicky says, I already have no trust.
Vicky!
So how do you know she's putting you? I mean, you're saying you don't trust your Kundalini. She's already putting you through paces in big ways, and you already have no trust. So what are you doing?
Yeah.
What's going on, Vicky? Who are you taking guidance from? See, that's the question.
Remember what I was saying earlier about, what if you've already gone through a huge ego refinement, say, before Kundalini arose, right? Like for me, it was from 1999 to 2006. I just can't tell you how hard it was. Nightmares, like when I was young, forced to be in an abusive situation, constantly having to forgive, horrible, and betrayals, absolutely. And so in those moments along the way, like our choices as well. Do you know what I'm saying? So you either go into a position where, you just don't do the forgiveness. You just say, screw that, and you just get bitter and angry and whatever. Or she's working with you, so you've got to do the forgiveness and the whatever and all of that. And then you have your activation or awakening, and you think, okay. And then you get the teacher, because everything that went before that hasn't really done the trick completely. There's so much more to do, and that's how it's been for me.
Well, no, and this is true, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the student has not done a lot of work on the ego. I know they have. They just can't work on what they don't know that they need to work on.
Exactly.
They don't know that you can't know. And Vicky's saying it's people I don't trust. Well, then that's exactly, Vicky, what she's going to give you. She'll give you a people teacher, somebody really bad like me. And she'll give you to that person because she knows that it's people that you don't trust, and therefore, this is the classroom for you. Think about this. Just think about this. It's not easy work. This is really this show is really getting into the nitty gritty. And let's see, we're within the first hour, so I want to go to area code 848459, and I'm going to bring you on board, caller. And you have a question?
Hey, Chrism. How is everybody?
Hi.
Hi, how are you guys? Good?
Is this Indra?
This is Tyra. This is How are you?
Tyra. Okay. Hi, Tyra. How are you?
Good. You should know me by now. Every week I annoy you with all these silly questions.
Actually, it was she was you were misnamed on it. It's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so I have a couple of things, and I don't know how much time you have, but you answer the way you want it. That's fine. One thing I started noticing is while I'm sleeping, my body will start positioning a certain way. My hands will go in Namaskar Mudra, if you know what I mean. The fingers will start on each other, the feet fingers. They'll be on one on top of each other. And early morning I start there's some slokas or there's some chanting will start happening on its own. I know that I'm not doing it. The whole thing starts. Other thing, I feel like I simply want to quit my work. I don't want to work. And maybe I should tell them I'm not feeling well, I'm sick, whatever. And the other main question I had is that can you really manifest your thoughts on your body? You can produce the symptoms.
Well, I mean, yeah, a person can do that. I mean, if they want something badly enough, like a lot of people that want to have the Kundalini will, they'll read up on the symptoms and they'll just want it so badly. They just, oh my God, it's becoming their whole life. Maybe they're a Kundalini yoga person, or maybe they spent a lot of money to go down to India, to go to somebody like Nityananda, which is totally as fake as you can get.
Oh, yeah, Nityananda is complete fake, yeah.
They just want it, God, they want it so bad, and they're spending a lot of time with people that want it so bad, and they've done all their research, they know what they should be feeling, and so they just kind of talk themselves into an awakening. Yes, you can do that. Heck yeah, okay. I mean, you can try to talk yourself into an awakening. It doesn't mean it's going to be real. It just means that it's wish fulfillment. And eventually it may become real if they stick with it, and maybe they get with more authenticity and learn to take responsibility for themselves instead of giving it to a teacher that doesn't have the Kundalini. And as far as the other stuff that you mentioned, this is all normal. This is the mudras and all of that stuff. That's all normal. Nothing to worry about.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's normal. And not wanting to work is also normal too, by the way.
That's a really hard part, right? You got to pay the bills. The kids are lining up for college tuition and all that, and you feel like, oh my God, I really don't want to work. I don't want to talk to anybody.
Well, maybe who are you buying college for?
Oh, my daughter. I have a daughter. And
well, then maybe she needs to get work and buy college for herself. Maybe giving her college is not the best idea. Maybe that if she earns her college, then she'll learn and she'll participate in college far better than if you just gave it to her. It's like a person being bought a car. If you buy a person a car, well, they don't, they're like, oh, okay, maintenance, what's that? Oh, change the oil, what's that? Oh, take care of the car, oh, what's that? No, they don't get it. But if they have to earn the car, well, then they're not only are they're maintaining it, they're washing it, they're cleaning it, they're caring for it. It works for them. Whereas, and the same thing with college. You buy somebody college, and they're like, oh yeah, but I don't want to go to the classes. I don't want to do that because it doesn't really mean anything to me. See what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I agree.
That's my whiny voice, but I was trying out my.
No, you're doing it very well. I enjoy it. Yeah.
So maybe you don't need to be working for her college. Maybe she needs to be working for her college.
Right. Yeah, because I really am losing interest in her work.
And if she's hearing this, she's hating me right now.
Yeah. No, but I mean, we all have other expenses too, right? Even if we take out the college part out of the equation, we still have to run our lives. We have to survive.
Yeah, well, maybe she needs to earn that too. A lot of people do it that way.
Yeah.
They don't have a mommy or a daddy or a mommy and a daddy to do all the work so that they're getting a free college. Maybe they need to earn that college. Maybe they need to want to earn that college.
Correct. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
I really thoroughly enjoy your conversations, and you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
And so going back to it's true. People sometimes have to earn what they respect. They can't just have mommy and daddy buy it for them. Let's see, and we're going into, and she says, it's people I don't trust. This is Vicky. It's people I don't trust. And she goes on. She says, I just have to go with what she dishes out, the Kundalini. I know deep down I'm cared for, but it's like she already has been doing just that. And Amelia says, same lessons can be repeated. Yikes! I have had to begin to trust people after being betrayed over and over. This is true. I withheld love in order to establish my ego comfort of not trusting people, protecting my ego. And so she gave me this over and over and over before she met her teacher. And Andrew agrees with her. Same here, Santara. And so, yeah, you you start drawing lines in the sand with the Shakti, and she's going to cross over those lines so quickly. I mean, as soon as you finish drawing them, she's going to jump over them. You don't get to choose. You don't get to choose what you want to do, how you want to do it, where you want to do it, or even if you want to do it. It's going to get done. And she'll repeat it over and over and over ad nauseum, over and over and over. And it'll get worse, too. So if you don't like people, then she'll put you into a people position at work, or she'll make you reliant, totally reliant on people, like someone with like cerebral palsy, where they're always reliant on people. They have to trust. Or a blind person has to trust. And heaven help you if you resist her so much that she puts you in those types of positions. Now, I do this with people. When a person comes up to me and I know they've got trust issues, and I've been told they've got trust issues by my Shakti, then I'll blind them. I'll put a blindfold on them and lead them around. Say, okay, do this, do that, do this, do that. Oh, let's go shopping at the mall. Let's go for a nice walk, blind person. And you'll walk, and you'll learn how to trust, and you'll learn what it is to be cared for in that way. And it can be hard. It can be scary, frightening, actually, to walk around a mall totally blinded. Yeah, it's not always fun. And this is how it works. You've got to learn how to give yourself completely. And Andrew writes on the chat room. He says, the seminar was huge for me. I don't usually let people see that side of me. I used to claim to be a misanthrope, but the truth is, all I ever wanted is to love people, and Kundalini allows you to love people. She allows you to love people, but there are certain areas within each person that go far beyond what they're cogently aware of or consciously aware of. And these are the areas of ego blockage. These are the areas where people refuse to go that they don't know that they refuse to go. Okay, so we go back to that example of eating meat. A person has been a vegetarian all their life, and the Kundalini comes and gives them to a teacher, and that teacher says, okay, I want you to eat this meat. Yeah, eat this meat, not because you want to eat the meat, but because you don't want to eat the meat. This is why I'm asking you to eat the meat. It's because you don't want to eat it. Or she'll say, okay, I want you to be totally subservient now. I want you to be meek and humble and dominated and there's another word for what I'm trying to get, submissive. I want you to be submissive, completely submissive. You only do what you're told to do, when you're told to do it, how you're told to do it. That's all you get to do. And so this would be for a person that's very, very organized in their life. They know what they want. They know how to get what they want. They know how they want to be treated, and they have the strength to be insistent upon being treated a certain way. Well, then all they get to be is subservient, meek, and humble, and used in certain ways. And this is to shatter that expectation of how they feel they must be treated. This is for people that have a certain degree of expectation of being treated a certain way. As this would be for a person like, say, who's very narcissistic, or a person who is very tied into having a certain level of respect and power and responsibility. And these people get treated that way. Over and for a long period of time. You know, to find, am I coming through okay?
Yeah, you are here, Chrism, loud and clear.
Can they hear me on the chat room?
Yeah. Just say there, guys, I think they can. Somebody type in, can you hear Chrism?
Okay, all right then.
Yeah,
so,
they can.
So these are the areas. These are the inscrutable areas. These are the areas that just really are beyond what we would ever allow ourselves to have. Hi, sweetheart. Yeah, no, we're not going for a walk right now. You've got to just be patient. Okay, yes, got to be patient, sweetheart. Okay, thank you, honey. Thank you for being patient. I think they might have to go outside, so I'm going to walk out there. So yeah, you put yourself in a rock polisher, literally. You put yourself in a position of being totally and completely abused and mistreated according to your ego. And in many different ways, against what society would have you do. This is what you do. Every day, in and out, in and out, in and out. And you know what this is like, right, Amelia?
Yeah, Chrism. I mean, I do. I was thinking there, you know, as you were describing, you know, our, as a student, our expectations, narcissistic, whatever term we would put on what they might be. I feel, you know, see, when our ego is being developed through our experiences as children and in society, that label, let's call it, our expectations and how we see ourselves and all of that, it's usually such a mask to the hurt and damage that was caused to us. It's like the mask. I'm not getting all psycho on this now, but I mean from my own experience. So a person who we say is very articulate, or a person who is very, let's say, not introvert, the other extrovert, that an extrovert often hides an introvert, really, you know. So when you start breaking down the ego of the extrovert, you discover that really that's a mask and that's a projection. The same with the narcissist or whatever. It's often there, I feel, through the damage. And so, like, for me, in some of my experiences with the teacher is that that which was, you know, the cause of my response to what I was being instructed or what was being triggered, we'll say, was actually much, much deeper within me than the initial part of me that went, no. You know, I couldn't recognize that deepness. And so that's what, like, she calls you to do, I feel, that work. It's really, really deep work. And so we resist it like God. It's innate in us, I think.
And it's very much like Michelle said, and I think Emma may have alluded to it. Sometimes it takes a little time to get into this position. Sometimes, you know, you've got to like the teacher, you know, the teacher's got to say, you know, okay, all right, take your time with this, think it through.
You do?
And sometimes the teacher wants it there immediately. And you don't get to have that time to think it through and to do all those things, right? Sometimes the teacher says, right now is the way it's going to be given. And you've got to jump to that tune. It's very, you know, it can be very hard. So this is kind of what do I want to say? The reason why that post was made for Chrism's private students. You know, I know it's hard. I know it's not fair. People that have an issue with fairness, they weren't treated fair as a child, or, you know, they weren't treated fairly. You know, they don't get treated fairly with this.
True.
They don't get treated fairly. That's one of their triggers, you see.
Yeah.
And so the things that so some of the things that trigger you are the things that she'll go after. What triggers you, Santara?
Well, that would be one, without a doubt, Chrism. You know, it's not fair. I mean, I might say it's not fair, but it absolutely, that would be a trigger for me. You know, and another one being not being understood. Oh my God, or a sense of injustice. When I feel something is unjust, you know, wanting to defend.
Oh, injustice!
I mean,
injustice is a big deal. Injustice is a
huge.
very big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, huge. That took a long time for me. And it doesn't have to, though. I need to say this. You know, it actually doesn't have to. Like, you could spend years battling with the injustice thing, but, you know, and resisting it. But you see, she'll bring you straight to it and break it down for you by giving you, like I talk about myself, by giving me a teacher who was quite unjust, or who you know, produced that trigger in me about justice around stuff, you know, or being misunderstood and all of that. So that's a gift. Like when you can actually trust, we're going back again to that, but when you can trust that she doesn't place you into a position of having a teacher, when you know, if at any point you know that you've been led to the teacher, you have to trust that from the Kundalini bypasses your other ego projections. Even though you're battling with them, you never let go of that she led you to this. And then that's a very quick path. You know, you can, and so for me, there would be areas of triggers that are quicker than others, you know, that I find easier than others. And it's the same with everybody. You know, even if you're talking about injustice, there's going to be very specific triggers within that, we'll say, general topic that would be different for me and, say, Vicky, or me and Michelle, or anybody else. They have the umbrella thing of injustice, but they would have very specific individual triggers for each of us. And that's how it works. And I mean, that is an incredible gift to be given in the context of ego refinement within a Kundalini context. So if you know, like, that you've been led to a teacher and you can trust that your Kundalini has done that, well then, yeah, go for it. really listen to what your Kundalini is doing and know that she would not do that unless it was for your good. And that's me. So I'm just saying it for what, if it might help somebody else.
Andrew says, a few years ago, I started hoping for a flesh teacher, and I figured it would be a woman since I have a problem accepting male authority. So, of course, my Kundalini led me to Chrism.
That's so perfect,
true.
Andrew.
It's so true. It's so true. It's my God. So if you feel that you're a leader, then she'll break that down. She'll break that down. As levels of self-aggrandizement. If you feel that you're a teacher, then she'll break that down and force you to be a student. If you feel that you're a boss, then she'll make you a minion. Any level of ego expression that you have begun to live your life by, and there's so many I can't even name them. She'll give you somewhat of the opposite.
Authority would be another one, Chrism, rebelling.
Right.
Against
then she'll make you the slave. She'll make you the slave. Any way that she can break you down in multiple areas at the same time, she will do that. She will do that. And now I'm going to open this up for questions, Amelia.
Okay, I'm going over Chrism to... Where did I put them on? I'm searching for them. I wonder, is Rosemary there? Could we say hi to her for a minute?
Go ahead.
The seminar, because we usually say hi to her, and maybe she could tap that just for a minute, please. It would be lovely to hear from her. Anyway, Chrism, can I bring her on?
What?
Is she? Yeah, here she comes. Hi, Rosemary.
Yes, hello, both of you and all of you. Yes, it is such a strong experience for me every week to tell you, I talk about the seminar coming up, and now that the seminar has passed, it's even more joyous thing to say. And it was an amazing seminar, and I encourage people who hope that you all have seen the post, that people have been in the seminar and the pictures that are there on the Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 or exclamation point in Facebook. It's just amazing, and you can see in our faces. And the most important thing that I want to emphasize is I learned that Chrism is teaching us by the direction, I knew this from Kundalini, but it has to do with the experience and I'll say the needs of the people sitting there. And we had 75-80% of the group have known you, Chrism, through several years, and many of those were your students. We are. And so, and I would like, if you can confirm for me or say something about that too, that the seminar this is the 6th one that I've participated in, and if I put all the rest together, it still wouldn't equal the grace of this one, and you don't do that with grace, I know, but it's like the experience of it. It was just amazing, and I wanted to confirm that and let people know that. And what I did post also is thinking about what was, because, and we came from many places around the world, 2 continents and oceans, and like Santara was there in 11 hours to get back home again, or even longer for Michelle. So this community is really, the community is really what was happening there, and came to the seminar. And we would look forward again in the future here in the Upper Midwest to be support for people with that, providing that opportunity. We would be more than happy to do the footwork and the groundwork and find the venue and so on, and then have it be the seminar for people around the world in the Kundalini community to come and be together. So it's very touching. So thank you.
Sorry, I've got vehicles here.
I thought you were doing your snoring impression.
Nice, Centaur. Very nice. I'll remember that.
Well, Thanks, Rosemary. Will I go to the questions? I found them. Thanks, Rosemary,
Sure.
and thank you so much for everything you did. Love you.
Thank you. My privilege.
Hang on.
Okay, so let's see. So the first question, Chrism, is interesting.
Sorry.
It came from. It's not on the groups, and it's not phrased. So in perfect English. So here it is. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, you're really far away.
Yes.
I thought you were out in the garden or something.
Go ahead.
Okay. Why some persons like me are born ugly, due to which they are unsuccessful in material life. In order to have success in spirituality by not getting attracted.
That's the question. It's about the opposite sex?
No, it's got to do, the question I think is about a person being born ugly, and therefore they're not so successful in material life, but maybe it helps them spiritually because they're not so attracted to the opposite sex. Maybe that's what it means.
Well, I don't, you just look at Harvey Weinstein. He's not exactly the most beautiful man in the world, but he's quite successful, or was.
Okay.
It's really not so much how you look on the outside. It's how you are on the inside that really determines the level of true success. For people that judge you just from how you look, it's just a very shallow question in a way, because it's taking it's asking about shallow things. Well, since I don't look good, therefore I'm not attracted to the opposite sex. Therefore, I guess I just have to focus myself on business and therefore become more spiritual or something like that. I'm not agreeing with the premise of this question, I guess.
Okay.
Next question.
Okay, okay, next question then. Sometimes when I meditate, my body vibrates a lot, and then I feel I have no mass in the timeless. Someone told me I have Kundalini awakening. I don't know enough. What do you think?
It takes more than vibrating to indicate Kundalini awakening.
Okay.
Over.
Okay. Okay. Is there any benefit doing meditation in front of a mirror?
Yeah, I'm not real. I mean, there's a very specific protocol one does for meditation in front of the mirror. And I don't recommend it outside of that protocol. And I'm not going to go into the protocol right now because then people will do it.
Uh-huh.
It's a great way to scare yourself. It's a great way to invite entities in you. Mirrors are like, you remember that mirror in Ireland we went in front of?
Oh, God. Yeah, it's like a gateway.
Yeah. Mirrors are like conduits of communicative interaction. Yeah. And the Greeks used to use a psychomantium, which is a mirror tilted a certain way and then looking into the mirror as it's tilted a certain way to invite entities to come into this realm. I myself have kind of been attacked by an entity coming through a mirror. So I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it at all. Not unless you get a very special protocol that allows you to do a certain thing within the mirror and then use the mirror for that certain thing. Over.
Yeah, I agree. And you did that work with me, and I totally agree. It shouldn't be done otherwise. Thanks, Chrism. I feel pain from the middle of my spine and then feel like a bit like a crawler. And I hear something sound deep in my ear during my sleep. and I feel heat and cold from the feet going into my legs, and same into my arms from palms going up to my back. What is that? Something happens to me. What is this?
It sounds like it's a beginning of a Kundalini activation. I suggest that person start practicing the safeties.
Okay.
Over.
Okay, although I read the word Kundalini only yesterday, my spontaneous awakening or activation started on the 10th of October last year. It electrocuted my life. However, I seem to have hit a negative phase due to sadness of a split with my best friend, a sudden death of a friend, and my beloved dog in the space of 3 months, and wondered if you have any advice on how to rekindle my previous positively supercharged feeling, or will it come back by itself?
It won't come back by itself. Your Kundalini activated at a very specific time in your life so that you could have that period of time where it was very good and very, electric and very positive, very forthcoming. But it also knew that, that friend was going to die then and that pet was going to die then, and that you were going to experience a very selected level of extreme grief. And, of course, the Kundalini would amplify that grief, just like it amplifies the joy. And so you allow the grief to wash through you, and you feel the love that you have for the friend and for the pet, and you allow that love to guide you out of the grief, knowing that they're on their next journey, they're doing fine, you don't need to worry. And because they're no longer in your life in a physical way, it doesn't mean that they are no longer in your life. It just means that the body is missing is all.
Thanks, Chrism.
So
in 5 days...
Wait. So the scenario is that once you come grounded in the idea that they're gone but they're not pain, they're not, they're just basically what it comes down to is we cry for ourselves. We cry because we miss them. We want them with us again. So once you realize that you're crying for yourself, then the Kundalini will return, and she won't return exactly as she was after she first activated, but she will return in ways where you know it is her and that you can move forward through this grief. Grief is a very, very strong process with Kundalini people, and so it's not something to be taken lightly. So embrace your grief and then let it go. Let it go. And you'll know when it's time to let it go. Over.
Thank you. In 5 days, I start shamanic yoga teacher training. Has anyone done something similar? And how does the Kundalini respond to this? I'm assuming very positively.
I wonder why they would assume that. But I guess it's a natural thing, and so there's, Shakti is natural. It really depends on the teacher and what that teacher is teaching and how that teacher is teaching it. I mean, are they living in the jungle? Are they memorizing the different flowers and the different plants and the ways these different flowers and plants energetically blend into the human system? I mean, what are they doing? What kind of a teacher training is it? And so really so much of this depends upon the program.
Yeah.
What?
Shamanic yoga. I don't know.
Is that what it says? Shamanic yoga?
Yeah, shamanic yoga teacher training. I'm not kind of...
Oh, so this is
like
just
it's not
another way to say...
teacher training.
It's just another way to say yoga, basically. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
I'm not sure the two words are compatible in that way. I don't know.
I don't think so, then. I didn't see the yoga part.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's true that the Kundalini likes yoga, or that it can be good for us in our process, Chrism?
Yes, absolutely likes yoga. Absolutely likes yoga. It really does. Yoga is good. the last yoga I was doing was the Bikram hot yoga. And I feel the Bikram hot yoga, if you can do those, I think there's 42 poses or something. You don't need to be in a hot room to take advantage and do the Bikram hot yoga. You can just be in a normal temperature room and do those things, hold them for like 2 minutes apiece, and go through the whole thing. And that's a nice yoga routine in and of itself. And I'll invite anybody who has information or experience with hot yoga to comment. Oh, he already commented. There's 26 poses that you do twice, and so it's like, 52, I guess. Yeah.
And Michelle Ranger says, sounds like me, haha. And she's referring to that last post where the person's best friend died and the dog died. And I was reminded of you, Michelle, because you've been through that just in the last, 2 months. So I thought first it might have been you, but I knew it wouldn't be. But it was very similar, yeah. Chrism, the next question is, I am mesmerized after reading experiences and questions posted in the group, and the person asks, where do the members within this group practice Kundalini awakening? And they were looking for some guidance to start, and why should I awaken the Kundalini?
Repeat that question.
Okay, so they were mesmerized after reading experiences and questions posted in the group, in the Kundalini group, your group. So the person is asking, where do members within this group practice Kundalini awakening? Can they get some guidance? And why should they awaken the Kundalini?
Well, they practice, they practice everywhere. They practice in their home. They practice in their life. They practice at work. They practice in the dream state. There is no place that a person doesn't practice Kundalini awakening. I think this person is relating to what we're doing as Kundalini yoga. I don't think this person is really understanding that this is Kundalini awakening or Kundalini activation, which really kind of goes beyond yoga. Yoga is happy with it. Kundalini is happy with yoga, but only as a way to spread itself throughout the body. It's not using yoga as like a religion or anything. It's not using yoga as the key to the golden helmet or anything like that. Not at all. It likes yoga just as a helpful practice, like walking. Kundalini likes us to walk every day too. Do we worship walking? No. We just walk. We do it. It's the same thing with yoga. And this person is asking, I feel, questions more along the line of yoga. Over.
Okay. Thanks, Chrism. Have you developed any food sensitivities during the process of your Kundalini awakening? Coffee makes me nauseous and uneasy, and it used not have that effect before. And I feel the same thing may be happening with sugar-free energy drinks.
Well, you shouldn't be drinking sugar-free energy drinks, whether or not you're Kundalini awakened. My God, have you read on the can?
Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't be drinking that anyway. Ever. So if she's guiding you away from that, then she's doing a great job. She's giving you a great gift of health. But yeah, it's normal for people with Kundalini to have their food changed for them. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. Dear friends, this person says, a new member, how to get rid of spontaneous Kundalini syndrome.
You don't get rid of it. You become used to it. You discern what it's teaching you. Most Kundalini syndrome is a person being forced to go against the will of the ego and then resisting it. And once you stop resisting it, things get a lot better really quick. Over.
Is it fair to say that that label is just because we're in resistance? That the symptoms can be the same, but we respond differently?
Yeah, People just, they don't like not being allowed to do what they want to do. And so they resist. And when they resist, things get really painful.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Chrism. I think I'm just scrolling there now. I think I'm at the end. Oh, there was a question actually as well. You have answered it before, Chrism, but it was, if you could answer it again, please. It was about taking antidepressant drugs, and the question was, a second on scrolling. Okay, so the question is, what happens to the Kundalini if someone takes antidepressants?
What happens to the Kundalini? Nothing.
Well, that's the question, so it's phrased that way.
Kundalini's fine.
Yeah.
Kundalini's fine. They're just, they're covering up some of the signs and symptoms of Kundalini with the drug, but the Kundalini's just fine. And the Kundalini can turn up the volume to counteract the drug if it feels it's appropriate or not. It's up to the Kundalini in each individual. Over.
Taking an antidepressant a form of resistance when you know you have Kundalini, Chrism?
Yes, it is, indeed.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep, that's definitely, I'm scrolling down. Yep, that's the last question, Chrism.
All right, well, I have a couple of things here in the chat room. Let's see, Atlanta Seekers. I'm a certified Bikram teacher, but I do more not hot yoga now. Well, maybe it's just time for you to kind of move on from that, or maybe you could do the not hot Bikram work itself as well. Let's see, and she also would you mind sharing your thoughts about the conspiracy theories concerning the Santa Rosa fires? I think some of them are valid. I've looked at them. I've seen some of the YouTubes, and steel melts at like 1,400 degrees. Typical forest fires don't put out 1,400 degrees of heat. Homes, generally, when they burn, leave a lot of things standing, stones standing, some timbers here and there, charred remains. None of this happened here. I think there's something else that was going on, and I think it may have something to do with sources that are testing out new equipment or things of that nature. I think that right now they're trying to blame it on the power company, Pacific Gas and Electric, for not keeping the trees trimmed near their wires and things like that. So there's a lawsuit that's beginning along those lines. I'm not quite buying that so much. There was a 60-mile-an-hour wind, and I know, you blow on a campfire, it's going to get hot. But I don't know that it's going to get hot to 1,400 degrees. Aluminum melts at 800 degrees, and silicone, for glasses and things like that, melts at a high temp as well. And it was so hot here that it completely vaporized silicone, and it almost vaporized aluminum. It was very, 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 very hot here for whatever reason. But the interesting thing is so many trees were left standing right beside things that were absolutely vaporized, steel I-beams that were melted and bent at 90-degree angles. I mean, this is really strange. So I'm not so dismissive of some of these conspiratorial theories, and I wouldn't even call them conspiracy theories. I just call them alternate truths that are not supported by the government agenda. Over. It was not scary. I was Atlanta Seeker. I was not afraid at all. For some reason, I just knew that it wasn't going to have any effect on my life or the property that I live on. And so I walked my dogs like I usually do, and Lasha was in and out, Lasha the kitty in and out, like door slaves for her. And so everything kind of went on as usual, but it was a very, very, very interesting, extremely hot fire. It melted stone. Think about that. forest fires don't melt rocks. Anyway, okay. Well, look, I want to say thank you to everybody who came to the seminar. I'd like to thank Rosemary and Joey and Katie for organizing the seminar and putting all of that work in. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful experience to be in Minnesota at that time. I'd like to thank everybody who came, Andrew and Katie and Michelle and, of course, Rosemary, Joey, and Amelia, and Michael Del Solananda, and Andrew, and everybody who came. It was really, Judy, everybody was really, really wonderful, and the energy was very strong, and it was indeed one of the strongest ones we've ever had in the Minnesota area. So many thanks to all of you. Many thanks to all of you. And I look forward to talking with you next week. Same Kundalini channel, same Kundalini station. And for some reason I thought today was Tuesday. I don't know why. Anyway, everybody, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Any last words, Amelia?
No, Chrism, thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
All right.